as well. So, just my journey anyway. Look, I've had the opportunity and blessed to get the opportunity to play a bit of professional rugby. Played for about 12 years. So, it was a pretty awesome opportunity. And it all started with the academy. That's where it all started for me. Just came out of school, and then they just started an academy in Wellington. And they only took a few players out of the school teams, and I was sort of lucky to get in there. I don't know how I got in, but I got in and I got the opportunity to I guess, prove myself. And I guess when I was in there, I was in with the likes of Jerry Collins, and all those big names. And it was awesome for me to play with because he was my age, and he was just this kid that was just annihilating people, And so of course he was there. But with the academy, it was pretty awesome benefits. With the academy, we got trainings with the Hurricanes that were in that year, like guys like Christian Cullen, Tana Uma, Jonah Lomu. So we got to train with them. But there was a sort of like in the contract that to stay in the academy, you had to make sure you were doing your schoolwork, you were doing your courses, you were doing your trainings, your fitness levels. So there was a criteria that you had to fulfill to stay in the academy. And it was a pretty awesome opportunity because what that taught people was that they couldn't hide. So, and it was keeping the balance. So you had to do your schoolwork to get into the academy, and you had to keep in there. And then that was balancing your rugby because your schoolwork was good. You weren't using your stress levels there or panicking about school or just hanging around on the streets. And then, you got to, I guess, train with these guys. And when you do train with these guys, you rise to a different level. And you pretty much have to prove yourself to be there because that's who you want to be. And this was guys like Christian Cullen, that's who I wanted to be. So I was following everything I did, everything he did. I was just watching him, learning. And I know I'm just going about a story, but it will come back to what I'm trying to teach at Palmyra. And I wish I had this mindset when I was younger. After a couple of years of that, I sort of, after the academy, and I got a bit loose. I thought I was too good because I was in that environment. And then, training got lazy, went out with the boys, was getting money, shout the boys on the beers, and it just sort of spiraled. I regret those times, but it happened for me to be here now to explain to everyone that, if you do the hard work, it will pay off at the end. And I'll explain why it will pay off at the end and the reason why, and when I was in the academy environment, how I sort of improved as a player. Look, I have a business now. My business is Aspire Health Coaching, and it's all around mindset. As Jack was saying, I was helping out the premiers, and look, it's not about trying to change your mind. It's just having that little clarity. So, for example, what we talked about with the boys last year was just having a word. So when you're on the field and you're in that stressful environment, you've missed the tackle, and now you'll put yourself down. We've talked now and sort of try to teach the boys, you can't sort of learn it pretty quick, but if you're practicing it more, you'll be able to use a word that you can now release that stress of missing that tackle, and then you're back to clear thoughts, and you're back to thinking about the game plan, and now you're back to 100%. What I saw when I was younger was, and experienced it, was when you're stressed and you stayed in that stress, your game drops. And no one ever taught us an anchor word or a mindset. There was nothing taught about. And these times now have changed. It's the game is faster. The game is a lot smarter now. You can't just use what they call talent to get by. And that's the other topic I want to talk about tonight is talent. So I'll get to that soon. But mindset's big, guys. And people take for granted the mindset training. We all just depend on our talents and our skills, and we think that's enough, but it's not enough. I'm going to ask everyone here, or the lads in here, why do we play rugby? like you've got to start with a why. You know, is it just because it's having fun with your mates? And you know, this is Jack has introduced the diary and the journal. I think it's big. I think it's probably the best thing you'll ever have, and I'll explain the story behind all this. And it's all facts, guys. I'm not trying to make up stuff. This is all just basic stuff that you can do at home. It's not extra homework. This is just for your growth. And this is, they call it accountability. And if you're not accountable for your actions, you won't grow. All right. So we'll get the diaries out at the end, but tonight, if you do get a chance with your diary, I just want you to start with why you're playing rugby. I know it sounds silly, and I thought it was silly. I thought all this was silly. But if you start with the why you're playing, then you'll find the reason why you're playing rugby, and that reason there is what will bring you to training, what will make you contact Jack if you are hurt or tired. Just being honest with him rather than saying, oh, I can't make it. And all those little bits, guys, counts, because all those accountability goes to your standards. You know, like what standards did you bring to here? You know, bring to the rugby club, to the academy. And standards is how you see yourself. You know, your identity. Are you coming here as that person who is a gifted kid, or are you coming here as a kid who's willing to work and, you know, prove it to the club that I'm ready to play premiers in a couple of years or in a year's time. You know, and it comes down to mindset, guys. If you wanted to play premier next year, you can probably play it. And Jack is a coach that will give you the opportunity if you work your ass off, and that's what it is. If you know, everyone goes, it might be too small. There's no such thing anymore. It's too small. It's all up here. You can play premier. You can, you know, next year you can make the fours. It's not, you know, it's not impossible, and nothing's impossible. So, you know, there's kids that have made the fours, what, 17, 18 years old. There's All Blacks, there's Wallabies made at 17, 18 years. So it's possible, guys. And it's all mindset. And I'll explain why some of those guys who make those teams pretty young, and the reason why. And I know it's a bit out there quite early, but it's all about priming, so that you get, I guess, curious about it. You go, oh, what does he mean about that, you know? And I want you just to ask the question, and that's all it is, not just trying to follow the same shit each week. You've got to change it up. You've got to always test your mind. You've got to test your body and test your limits, because without putting yourself at peak performance or training at peak performance, you can't grow, and that's a fact. All right, and I'll explain, when I was in the academy, it was peak training, every training. It wasn't, tell you an example, there was the guys were holding pads at a ruck, and I was this young kid, and I went and tried and cleaned it out, and they just, I don't know if anyone remembers a guy named Philo Tier, and he was a massive giant, and all he did was waste me, and he was an adult, and he wasted me, and as a kid, and I said, oh man, I'm only young, and he goes, don't be here then. So that was lesson one. You know, I had an excuse, and he told me, piss off if you're going to have that, you know, pussy attitude. And he goes, clean me out again. Took me 10 goes to try and clean him out. Until the end, he probably let me go. But that was a lesson learned there, that if you're not training at peak performance, you're wasting your time. And so whatever we do with these trainings at the academy, and you've got to have the mindset. And I just want you to be curious about it, guys, not just blasé and just going, oh, it's another fitness session. But rather than saying it's just a fitness session, why not go, oh, you know, this is going to make me better than the rest. You know, if I go there's just a little bit harder, next week I'm going to be fitter and I'll be a little bit better. And that's that growth. Once you get that mindset, guys, I'm telling you, I didn't have that. And there's people out there who are talented, and everyone says, oh, they're talented, but they're not talented. All right, that was hard work. And I'll explain that soon, all right? But tonight's homework, guys, is find the why. And then, you know, Jack will probably check it. You don't have to tell Jack, but, you know, if you want to be accountable, you come up to Jack or myself. And I'll be around, guys, and that's why I want to make it, you know, comfortable that people can come up to me and ask questions, because I wish I had someone to help me out. Because I'm telling you, mindset will take you faster to where you want to go. You can't just try and pretend it's going to, oh, luck's going to get me here, a good game's going to, it won't. Mindset will get you there, planning, writing it down, being accountable, and asking questions. You know, and I know everyone will get comfortable and they'll want to talk to me later on, but it's just asking questions. If you got a question of, yeah, I've got bad habits or anything, like, just come and ask me the question. I said, how can I beat my habit? And I'll tell you how to beat your habit. And everyone's got habits. I got bad habits. Jack's got bad habits. Everybody's got bad habits. But the key to sorting out your habits, guys, is just being aware that you've got habits. Comes back to this again. If you've got bad habits, write it down. And then you see it and you go, oh shit, man. You know, I've got a bad habit. I don't practice my left-hand pass. Come to the game, I can't even pass to the last guy to score a try. And that's a bad habit. Everyone should be able to pass off their left in this day and age. Alright? Alright, so habits and accountability. But I want to start on, I just want to tonight talk about talent. You know, I won't spend too long on it. And, you know, people, and this is my big thing now, is just investigating or helping people just find their talent. And people think you're born with talent, but you're actually not born with talent, guys, right? So, talent is, you're not born, you know, talent is not born. Alright, and don't think, and you think, you know, oh, my mate's more talented than me, he's a special player and I can see it. But talent is not born, alright? I want to just kick it off. You know, don't think that your talent is going to get you to the top, because it won't. Everybody's talented, it's just some are slower at learning than others. Talent is grown, alright? And I've got a few examples of that, guys. You know, people saying, guys, like, you know, I've got an example, I don't know if anyone's heard of it from history, you know, Michelangelo, everyone says, oh, he's an awesome sculptor, you know, such a talent. But if you find out the story about Michelangelo, since 6 years old, he was sent from home and worked with an apprentice, as an apprentice. 6 years old, he left home. And he worked until he was 24 when he created this masterpiece that everyone says, oh, he was so talented, but he didn't. And what he said, this is what he said, was, you know, if people had known that the hard work I put in, you know, they wouldn't think this masterpiece was so great. Alright? So, everyone only sees the outcome at the end. Right? You know, they only see the All Blacks and you go, yeah, he's talented, but imagine the work, you know, all the work that he's done to get there. You know, there's examples of, you know, I don't want to drop his name, but Ma'anonu, he's my, you know, I grew up with Ma'anonu. Everyone know Ma'anonu? That kid didn't make any teams at school. He struggled to make any teams. He didn't even get picked in the Wellington Academy, you know, and I always trained him because I was close mates with his brother. And he came to our trainings that we were training after the academy. And he got so hungry. And he was saying to me, like, I want to stab myself because I'm so hungry. I just want to make it so bad. And he went on and started training his ass off. And then a couple of years later, he broke through. He just came out of nowhere. You know, like he did his trainings in the background. I seen all that. And I didn't put it together because at that time I was focusing on myself, and you know, looking back now you can see the hard work he put in. That guy was in the gym throwing medicine balls on the walls, you know, he was throwing everything, he was doing all the trainings, and we got the trainer to give him the academy training so that he could do it in the background, and he made it that year. And that, you know, he had no talent, he grew his talent, and he's like that legendary status at the moment, you know. So talent, guys, don't depend on that. If you think you're a special player, don't depend on it. You know, it's all about the mindset. All right? Does that make sense so far? Is that sort of clear, guys? I'm trying to keep it as basic as possible, but you don't have to remember all this. You're not going to remember all this, but I just want you to be curious to ask the questions and ask Jack, can you send me that video so I can watch it again? Or go and Google stuff. You can learn all about mindset just by watching a phone or having a shit or, you know, lying in bed. You can. You've got information there on your phone, guys. So you can't say and come here and say, oh, you know, my mindset's not good, I'm not thinking. But if you're not going to look after this, then that won't look after this. Alright? Mindset, mind controls your body. That's what it does. So if you're not going to control this, and you don't know how to control that, you can't control that. And, you know, we'll get to it down the line, guys, when we get a bit deeper about what mind controls what and everything like that. But just be curious. Ask the question. Ask me anything. Ask it for, you know, just a chat. I'm here, and I'm, you know, and Jack's put me here so that I can, you know, you can be accountable and, you know, sort of look at your habits, train and grow new habits that you can sort of perform to the best you can. Alright? So, most people, guys, I'll change the colour. Won't be long now. Alright? Most people, this is the bracket they train in. Alright? Alright? This is where most people train. Alright? And this is where we're good. You know, we train, this is where we think, you know, this is where our talent is. Alright? And that's 80% you know, every 80% sort of success, you know, that we train there. So say, you know, you're throwing or your passes, and that's your 80%. That you know, you sort of get good, you know, all the passes stick about 80% of them. Alright? And then we move on to the next spot. And this is where I want people to start training it. Alright? And they call it the sweet spot. Alright? Just using slangs that makes it easier for you to remember. Alright? And the sweet spot is the edge of your current ability. Alright? So it's the edge of your current ability. And when you're training there, you're from about 50% to 80%. Alright? So you're really pushing your comfort zone as you're training right now, everyone. And that's what I was saying, when I went to these academy trainings and I was training with these hurricanes, they put us in here straight away. There was no being in the comfort zone, no just mucking around with the boys. You're now with the men and you're training sweet spot. And I didn't know this then, alright? And so this is why I love teaching this now, because it's like I get to give back, alright? And yeah, when you're training in that sweet spot, you're training in the edge. And I'll give you an example of that. Say you're throwing the line out and you're just standing there throwing with your mate, doing line outs and all that. You know, that's your comfort zone. You're hitting it all the time. You know, you should never miss that. You're in the comfort zone. But if you wanted to train line outs in that, you'd do like a 30 burpees, 200 meter sprint, and then you come back and you still hit that target. Now you're training under pressure. Now you're so fatigued that you can't just go to your habit, which is just throwing. Now your mind is out the door and you can't focus, you're blurry, you can't breathe. That's training on the edge. Does that sort of make sense? That's training on the edge there, and that's growth, guys. That's the gold right there, right? They call it the what was it called? Apologies for that. They call it the sacred source, alright? And that's where and what happens there, once you start hitting it and you start, you know, and people think, oh, I'm missing about, you know, 50%, I'm not hitting my targets anymore. But you're not hitting your targets because you're training under pressure. But what will happen is, when you come to the game, that's just going to be a habit now. You're under pressure, you're tired, you're never going to miss. And then when you come to these ones, you should never miss. That's bread and butter. Because you know how to get to that zone, and trust me, you will. And all I want you to know is just look into it. When you're training and you're doing fitness, don't just say, oh man, I'm tired, I just want to give up. You know, have a wee think and go, shit, you know, what if I'm now training and on my edge? Is asking that question. Does that sort of make sense? A little bit simple? You know, you got to train on your edge. Anything you do. If you're doing fitness and then Jack will put you under pressure and go do skills, that's when you're focusing. You've got to go away from that feeling of trying to breathe and get some air to just concentrating. But what I would like you to do is just be aware that you're tired. And if you're dropping the ball, don't get mad. Jack's never going to pick on you. You just go, shit, why am I tired? Because, you know, I'm not at that sweet spot because I'm tired, I'm not focusing. And when you're tired, your body goes into shutdown mode. It just goes to survival mode because it thinks you're trying to lose air, you're trying to run away from a lion. And that's what's programmed in our brains, guys, alright? If you're breathing fast like that in a field and you're tired and you're panicking, you've just missed a tackle, your brain goes to survival mode. They call it fight or flight, alright? And all your strength goes to your arm and legs, and all the blood rushes out of your brain, and all you need to do is survive. Alright? So when you're stressed out on the field, this is what I was trying to talk with the Pally boys, the preems, that when you are stressed, come in a huddle, breathe it out, and then you'll back down. Say your anchor word, everyone's back on the anchor word. And what was that anchor word that you used anyway?
We had reset.
So everyone said reset, and as soon as they said reset, and it was their habit, everyone switched on back to the game plan. They weren't on that fight or flight because they knew they had to be worried or, you know, be in fear. Does that sort of make sense so far, guys? You know, I just want to be as simple as possible. Alright, so that's, and what I will look and I will talk to Jack about it, and it's example of this is having a rubber band, and everyone's probably got those rubber bands we have. And the comfort zone, sweet spot. And then you get to this is what I was talking about before, the survival, alright? And that's training, and you're missing your stuff, and that's, you know, 50% minus 50%, and you're down. Okay, that's the survival zone. Okay, you've got 3 zones. So that when you get to this zone and you're not hitting your targets, that means you're overtraining. You're not going to get anything out of it because you're missing too much, and you've got to focus and come back to this spot. And you'll start seeing it, guys. Alright? So we'll leave it up here. You can sort of quickly copy it in your diary. You can play with it, and then you'll start seeing it. Alright? When you get to the survival zone, that's when you relax, reset, and you come back to the sweet spot. Did that make sense after that story? Reset, come back. Alright? So that's one. Number 2, guys. Alright, so number 2 is when we're trying to build habits or anything, alright? This will be the last bit, I don't want to overdo it. Is rather than binge on practice, meaning you're just doing, say, 3 times per week, you're going up for 1 hour hits. Alright? What I'd like you to do, guys, rather than binge on practice, and you're only doing it 3 times a week, you snack. And it's just terms so that it's easier for you to remember rather than focus on. So you're snacking on practice. Alright? And what that means is rather than doing 3 1 hours per week, you're doing, I guess, 20 to 30 minutes every day. Why do you think we should be doing it every day? Anyone? Why do you think we should be doing it every day? What will we get? You know, say if we're learning ABCs and we start with A, we start with B, and we're doing it every day, and by Friday or Sunday we've got the ABCs. And that's how we build a habit. Repetition. Yeah. It's the memory. And you're building repetition. And the only way to enforce a new habit, guys, is just repetition. Alright? So rather than binging and going for an hour training, if you're only going to do 3 trainings per week, your body won't remember it, and it will be harder to go on the next day rather than doing 20-30 minutes every day. It doesn't even have to be much. If you want to know how to pass and you've got a shitty left, you're doing this. And this is just simple basic training. You're just training your wrist, and you're doing that for 20 minutes. You know, and you're just doing that, you're just practicing your wrist. And that's just sitting there watching TV, guys. And that's all it is. But you've got to be doing it every day. Write in your diary and you go, I've done that. And the power of writing that down, you look and you go, wow, I've had a good week this week, trained real well. And I go, then you look back and you go, wow, I've done this, I've done that. I had a full week of training. And that's why it's so powerful to be accountable. And if you're accountable, guys, I'm telling you, man, you can't stop but grow. And that's the one thing, is growth. Diaries are important, and that's important with the journal. I carry a journal, and I'll tell you a story. When Ma'a just made the All Blacks, I'll go back to that, I went up to his house and I said, man, how'd you do it? How'd you get in? And he goes, I don't know, man, I've just been training hard and all that. And I seen him after he had a feed or something like that, he'll write down everything. And I go, what's that? And he goes, my diary, man, it's journal. And I go, no one knew about journals. That was for softies back then, And he was writing a journal, and I seen it. He wrote down everything he ate, all the trainings he'd done. He had a food diary and a training diary, and he'll look back, and if he had a shit training, he was explaining to me, had a shit training, and he'll look back and he goes, it's that KFC I had at lunch. And that's made yourself accountable, and you go, well, if I want to make these teams, I want to make the Wallabies, I want to make the Force, I can't be eating KFC. And that's, if you eat KFC, it's not a bad thing, but don't have it when you're coming to do a fitness test, and you can see it right there on the diary. And that's why it's important to have that. You write your food, you write your goals, you write your why, and who you want to become. Because if you don't know who you want to become, and it's all in here, your mind will keep changing it. But if you've got it on the book, you see it every day. You see who you want to become. I want to become a Wallaby, I want to become an All Black. And I fucking wish I had this fucking mindset when I was young, like telling you. So now I'm slowly enforcing it into my son so that he picks this stuff up and he can make me rich, alright? But yeah, no, look, mindset's powerful. I won't go on too much about it. I'll be here moving forward. Hopefully I can try and make it down to trainings a bit earlier, and then if you need a chat about, how do I set my goals, or how do I just, break a bad habit? I've got a bad habit of eating sugar and lollies, and it's a habit, and I can teach you the ways. And all you need to do is ask the question. If you don't ask the question, if you don't ask Jack, how am I going to learn how to pass on my left? If you don't ask the question, you're not going to get better. And when you grow up, when you grow and you start making these big teams, communication is the key, guys, and mindset. And that's pretty much all I've got. I don't want to go too much on it. All I can say is please make a start on the journal. It's massive. I'm telling you, man, it's the goal, right? And I wish I had that when I was young. And look, there's nothing wrong with having a journal. Just carry it everywhere. Make it a habit. Just start writing a day, writing it at the end of the day, and then you'll start writing it at the start of the day. Write your dreams, read your goals every day before you sleep, and read it when you wake up, because when you're falling asleep and when you're waking up, you're in an unconscious state. And so when you're reading these goals, the goals go into your habit mind and they start inserting in, alright? And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for your time. And look, as I said, I'm here anytime. I've got to leave my card, I've got my email address. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. If you want to leave a comment, jump on. I've got lots of posts in there, lots of stuff that just content that people can sort of read in regard to anything in life. And look, one thing I'm going to say about that, guys, is mindset is about having that balance. So when you do come to these trainings, you're not just bogged up from stress from school and all that, that you have the mindset to switch that off, switch on for the training, grow over here, and then you go back. You pick it up at the gate, and then you take that and you start looking after. But once you have that mindset, you can control anything in your life. Alright? That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
I just want to really sort of probably touch on, just very briefly, I know that Potsy's done that, and which is great, thanks mate, but if any of you are like our friends, when we first got Potsy in for our first session, everyone was like, what the fuck was he on about, like seriously, and don't be surprised if you feel that way now, because it'll make sense. Like we're going to do like a half an hour sessions, probably once a month or something, and we can climb into the mindsets and the control and things like that. But a lot of it was about these diaries, and guys, I can't stress enough how important they are. And if you go and look at any professional athlete in any environment, the ones that succeed are using these on a daily basis, all right, and they're making themselves accountable, not me, not any of the coaches or whatever. That accountability comes from you guys, so I really want us to focus on tonight, like write the why, right at the front of the page. Like why do you play rugby? You're all going to have your own different reasons. The reason that's important, you're going to get halfway through your diary if you do it properly. You're going to get towards the end of the pre-season and you're going to go, fuck, we've got training again today. Like I've been 4 or 5 times this week and I'm just over it. That's when you come back to your why. You come back, right, this is why. This is why I want to be there. The other thing I would like you to do as well is just plan out your week, all right? So now only has to be really rough, like you might have your trainings and things like that. Try and use this on a daily basis. We're going to have, we'll get shitloads. If you use them up pretty quick, that's fine. That's what we want you to do. But what I'd like you to do is, whether you pick a Sunday or a Monday, whatever day is convenient for you, just write a rough plan for your week. So like, Tuesday I'm going to do, passing for half an hour or whatever it may be. Part of this 20-30 minutes too, guys, and a real big part that we don't do enough of is, all right, education. So, watch, go onto YouTube or whatever and watch, probably not what you normally watch, but watch something if you're a halfback. Go and watch, Aaron Smith. There's 100 clips of him where he's passing the football, what he does at practicing. Go and watch one of his games, just watch him. Like that's sort of, doing that 20-30 minutes a day, and you think of how much you use electronics, go and spend 20-30 minutes a day, watch your favourite player. Watch where he goes, watch where he runs, watch what he does. Watch his decision making, because that's going to be a really big part of what I do with you. But the education, I can't stress enough on that. So write down, a rough example of your week, and then come back to it. So if it's your Monday or your Sunday, whatever day it is, the following week I want you to go back and review and have a look at it. And then be really accountable. Go, all right, so I had on Tuesday, I was going to train for 30 minutes on this, or I was going to go to the gym. I didn't go that day, and then why? And it comes back to the story that Potsy said. But it makes you accountable, and be hard on yourselves, guys. If you want to go to the top, you need this stuff, all right? You're not going to get there by yourselves. You need help. Look, we don't expect you guys to know anything. We don't know anything. Like I still to this day, I've actually got my diary in the office. I use it every day. I'm trying to grow as a coach, so I use it for similar terms, but obviously that's one. And I'll write down everything, literally everything, and then I go back and analyse at the end of the week. And that reviewing is really important, guys, because I can tell you, for the guys that probably haven't done this academy stuff before, Harry might want to allude to it a little bit. A lot of it's fucking boring shit. It is like really boring. It is literally stand here, pass the ball for 20 minutes to the guy across from you. That's where Harry excels. But if you look at the guys that we had at the top end last year, all of them played first grade rugby that we had, that Harry spent a lot of time with. And I think there was only one guy we had miss out on the state side. Out of our top tier guys that we were looking at. So, and their skill level, Harry would probably touch on it basically, like their handling and their passing and things like that just went through the roof. Guys that couldn't pass right to left or left to right, doesn't either way, with no pressure at all, are doing it in really high pressure situations, and that's, why we ended up, coming away with one of the titles today, so last year. So. But Harry, you probably elaborate on that. We're not doing anything too flashy.
The good thing about having Potsy on board is, like you said, the why. Okay, I did a lot of practical stuff last year, and I could see guys going, what the hell are we doing this for? Well, he's back up now for why. All right, so if you want to know why, just go see Potsy. And by the end, I think on our last session where we had, the always ended with touch, and I tried to mix it up. And I always said to you guys, you wouldn't look out of places in New Zealand. We were throwing passes, running, supporting holes like Fijian players. You got to agree with me, right? So that's how good you look. And imagine how better you will get now when you've got someone like Potsy working on your mindset.